I make these videos to show the struggle, to show how difficult it is. I do try to meet police on mutual ground. I try to meet them in a place that's public in case they try to pull anything. The guy who was going to help me today, who said that he would go in with me today, everybody tries to talk me out of defending myself, as if I ignore the abuse, that it's going to make it stop. No, it doesn't make it stop. Most of these people who are harming me, that saw this stuff on the internet, whether I get off the internet or not, people do recognize me. And it's not from my channel. If you look at Rob Gavigan's channel, type in Rob Gavigan, Natalie Bollinger, look at how many people watch that. Look at how many people watch my videos. What are the chances that the people who are harassing me and threatening me and assaulting me, random strangers nearly everywhere that I go, what are the chances that they're doing that over videos that I made since Natalie's death? What are the chances that they're doing that over videos that they see with me, when the most I usually get on a video is like 56 viewers? What are the chances? Whereas Rob Gavigan, he's got 3 million viewers. That one video with Natalie has over 1 million views. Then there's Sword and Scale. There's over 3 dozen of these made already. Several of them in other languages from other countries. They've got them in Canada. They've got them in Spanish. When people recognize me randomly on the street from, well, Denver News, people think that you just get to walk away. No, I don't have a support network. I'm a disabled and at-risk adult. I have to be afraid to go in by myself. Let's play the conversation I just had. It doesn't have the man's name, so it kind of helps to protect his anonymity. Where anonymity was already lost, that's when I spoke out and actually used people's names. Is Jason here?
Outside.
I just wanted to check again.
Oh, he might have took Maddie around the corner.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Be out there.
There you are. Outside twice and even knocked on your door.
Okay, I just got back about So were you still planning on going down there?
Yeah.
Did you see if they would be willing to come down here to the motel lobby?
For your own safety?
For yours.
Make a call with you, they might be willing to.
Okay. I just think it makes more. I wouldn't go down there if I was you and sit in their home.
I'm gonna pause it just for a second. A train goes by and it gets very loud here, so I keep trying to adjust the volume based on how loud the video or how loud the recording is. I'm gonna back up just a few seconds because I'm not sure if that was recorded. We'll increase the volume and press play. Outside twice and even knocked on your door.
Okay, I just got back about So were you still planning on going down there?
Yeah.
Did you see if they would be willing to come down here to the motel lobby?
For your own safety?
For yours.
Make a call with you, they might be willing to.
Okay. I just think it makes more. I wouldn't go down there if I was you and sit in their home. The lobby here would be neutral ground. It'd just be a little bit more wise, I think. But let me ask you, what is your goal for with talking to them?
I need them to look at evidence like this stuff is going to continue happening until the day I die. I can't just avoid court, and if they take all of my evidence, I'll have to put up with this for the rest of my life. It's not much of a life.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it's possible that you're putting all this weight on yourself?
I'm not sure I understand the question. What do you mean?
Come here, Maddie.
Like, the abuse that I've been going through is real. It is very real.
I'm not saying that's not real. What I'm saying is, for one, talking to McCook City cop detective isn't going to. They're not going to investigate something outside of their jurisdiction.
Some of it is inside of their jurisdiction. That's the thing. Dale County Sheriff's Department utilized many jurisdictions, including this one.
They had me transferred from one end of the state to the other in order to prevent me from being able to go to court. Now, in order to get it investigated, I got to take it to a department to look at, and when it's shown that it's taking place across multiple jurisdictions, then these officers are supposed to turn it into the Nebraska Attorney General's office as well as the Nebraska State Patrol.
Well, was any crimes committed against you in the pit?
Yes. Well, it sounds like the thing. It's that I've called everybody that there is to call. They're going to continue blowing me off until somebody goes in with me for my own safety. It needed to be Andy Singer, but you can't. He's afraid. They've been using this jurisdiction thing, and I've got all the evidence that I need to show that they utilize it to multiple jurisdictions to commit their crimes against me.
Well, okay, what crimes did... So there wasn't any actual crime committed against you in the pit?
There were crimes committed against me here in the pit. The harassment, I'm in the pit, and the harassment across the internet has happened while I've been in the pit.
But they won't investigate that.
Well, that's the thing about I have to take it to a different jurisdiction, a different sheriff's department, a different police department in order to get it to I can't go to Dewar County and have Dewar County Sheriff investigate it.
Right, but because the city police are on there.
They can take a look at the evidence and they can put it in to who it needs to go to. And that's one of the things that I've been instructed to on multiple occasions and have attempted on multiple occasions because that's what I've been instructed to do. But the problem is I have to
I just think you're fighting a losing battle.
I am fighting a losing battle. You're right.
And I think it'd be best for you if you just, in all honesty, I think you should just walk away from it.
I can't walk away from it. That's the point. I cannot walk away from it. This abuse continues to this day. I can't just walk away from continuing abuse. No matter where I go in the country, I have to deal with abuse over the slander from Natalie Bond. No matter where I go, no matter what
But she's dead.
I know she's dead. I'm not retarded. That's the point. It's that I am still taking abuse over that. I can prove that the things that she claimed were untrue. But I'm not allowed to show that. This abuse that I'm taking from all of these different jurisdictions. No.
Alright, you can hear me stimming in it. That's what that shaking is. It's me stimming because I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm scared shitless. This guy was gonna go in with me, and then he's trying to convince me not to. People aren't understanding that I have to take this abuse no matter where I go. I have to go to court. I have to be able to show this. I don't have help. I can't do this alone, and I don't have in-person help to go in with me. Someone who has actually looked at the evidence to go in with me for my own safety. With having a random stranger go in with me, the issue with that is that he hasn't seen this evidence. With Dan Fabert, hopefully, I mean, oh my God, it's not that I'm not trying to get help, it's that everybody is going out of their way not to understand. We all understand that the cops everywhere are crooked, that the cops everywhere are allowing these crimes to get away. We're hiring bullies who don't know the first thing about actual investigating. What they know how to do is threaten, harass, and intimidate poor people. They know how to target and victimize poor people who don't have the money for bail, don't have the money for a real lawyer, and they end up with a public pretender who will do nothing. They take our resources by pressing false charges and committing these crimes against us. And then they tell us, oh, well, you can call a lawyer when you get out. You can hire a lawyer when you get out. No, I can't. All of my money is spent going to the courts. I don't have the money for a lawyer. I cannot go through all of this for the rest of my life.
No matter what jurisdiction I go to, that abuse is ever present. The abuse against my finances, the abuse against my ability to even have housing, the repeated threats and harassment, they continue.
That cooking is bugging me.
I know she's dead. It's kind of like when I tell people what's going on, and they're like, well, you know they caught her killer. Yes, I know that they caught her killer. The thing is that law enforcement and the general public have not stopped the abuse against me. You cannot just walk away from abuse that happens no matter where you go.
I understood, but you've set yourself up for that abuse.
I have not set myself up for that.
You have, Sean.
No, I haven't. I've tried to get the...
That's another thing, people telling me that I chose this. That I chose for people to harm me. Because I spoke out, then I set myself up. So they're placing the blame on the victim. How fucked up is that? Victim blaming and victim shaming. Claiming that I chose this, that I set myself up for this by speaking out. No, this doesn't stop. I don't speak out for nothing. When I am assaulted and I speak out about it, I speak out because I was assaulted, not the other way around. I wasn't assaulted for speaking out. If the assault happened after I spoke out, then I would have had no reason to speak out to begin with. This is common sense. These people who were harassing me in Washington State, it's because they saw one of these web sleuth channels. The people who were making my life hell in Colorado after Natalie died, it's because they saw the news. And because they saw these web sleuth channels. They saw the stuff that was written by Jennifer Jazowski. They saw the stuff from Sword and Scale. They heard that stuff. And my side was never shown. See, that's the thing about being allowed to show evidence and allowed to speak up in court. These are my constitutional rights, and they are being denied. And they're being denied by these people calling me mentally ill. That's like calling a black person the N-word, except it's worse. Because if you call a black person the N-word in the courtroom, you're getting in trouble. Whereas if you call a black person mentally ill in the courtroom, you're trying to discredit them, and many people will automatically assume that they must be wrong because of the term mentally ill.
To stop.
But you're not going to get it to stop by posting 10 YouTube videos every day and Facebook.
I shouldn't have to post them on YouTube and Facebook.
But that's the thing, that's what's propagating.
No, it's not. It's not. I had to post that because of the abuse. I am not posting that and then the abuse magically happens because I posted it. I posted it because of it. See, that's the thing, is that people want to do the whole role reversal. Like, oh, Sean, you're being abused because you spoke out.
Now, if you notice, with traffic driving by and the wind and the train, I do get louder. I'm scared shitless. Yes, I get louder. And then the train goes by and does its squeaking thing, and I get louder. And traffic drives by, and I get louder. I'm not trying to yell at people. I'm overwhelmed, and my environment is loud. And I'm frustrated and scared.
No, there's a reason I'm speaking out. Where did the abuse start? Why am I speaking out? Am I speaking out about things that never happened? No, I am speaking out about the abuse that I continue to endure. It's not propagating it, it is showing the truth. It is showing what I'm going through. example, if I'm assaulted over slander, and I speak up about the slander, or about the assaults that I'm enduring over the slander,
But
I'm speaking up about the assaults.
but the thing is, everybody's. I mean, yeah, that's what you.
See, and that's the thing about focusing on the slander. The crimes that are happening because of the slander, something needs to be done about. Those crimes continue to happen. I don't want to post 10 YouTube videos, but the other thing is I've got a deadline. And the closer I get to that deadline, the more scared that I am.
I understand you're scared, but at the same time,
I cannot take care of myself because of this. That's the plain and simple facts.
I understand that. All I'm saying is talking to more law enforcement is not going to resolve that problem.
They're the people who are supposed to do something.
But they're not going to do anything, Sean.
And that's the problem.
This police department won't even investigate home robberies and burglaries and murders here in the city. If there's any way that they can just write it off, they're going to write off anything that they can. And this city has the worst reputation for that. I can give you the names of everybody I know that will tell you that between the police department here and the sheriff's department, they're not going to do anything to help you because they don't do anything. If I were to call them right now and say, my truck just got stolen, they're not going to do anything about that. And you can't present them with anything, you can't present them with any evidence of bodily harm, because there hasn't been any.
Not here.
But the only thing that you have evidence is that people harassing you on the internet.
No, that's not the only evidence I have. That's the thing, is that all of that evidence in there shows police abuse and judicial misconduct. There is a lot in there. A lot. I mean, you've seen the pile. It's huge.
Right.
It's just the paperwork.
But what I'm saying is that you need to find the correct avenue to resolve your issues. Talking to McCook Police Department isn't.
In 5 years, we haven't found the correct avenue. A lot of people, like Marcia Estrada, for example, and, well, quite a few of those folks that you're supposed to go to for help. They use the fact that these organizations, these police organizations and the FBI and the State Patrol and all of these other places, they use the fact that these places did not help me, that the Nebraska Attorney General's office did not help me, that legal aid did not help me. And they say, oh, well, if you've already tried all those places, then we can't help you because you've already tried those places. No, those places blew me off because I had to go in alone. That is why I was blown off. That's why I was blown off by all of these places. I had to go in alone. They treated me differently when I was not alone. But then, like with Molly Smith going in with me, no, I was not alone during that situation, and I did record that situation. But she didn't know anything. So Jared Hahn didn't have to do his job, because Molly Smith didn't know anything. She actually knows more than she admits to, because, well, there's a lot about that situation that I was trying to explain to her. We did speak on two or three different occasions before that, and on about 5 different occasions afterwards. I did fill her in on what was going on. Now, there's a difference between having somebody who offers to help you that's on the street outside of where she works, and you're explaining it the best that you can, but you don't have the evidence handy to show her, and she doesn't have the time to actually stop and look at it. But at least You are explaining the situation and trying to get them to understand. And there are many people who understand, and there are many people who don't. In several situations here in Nebraska where individuals were harmed by the police, they have been allowed to go to other jurisdictions and turn it in. Because they had to, because of the safety risks in western Nebraska especially. Nebraska State Patrol is supposed to do something, but you have to have someone there in person or you're going to be blown off. When you're called mentally ill, cops use that as an excuse to do absolutely nothing. If they can do it for others, they can do it for me, especially in this situation. With Marcia Estrada and Penny Cooper was pretty bad. I mean, she's probably, well, as far as caseworkers go, she's pretty much right there on the plateau of horrible. Between pretty bad and horrible, or no, very bad and horrible, she's probably right in between those two. She did go in with me to help me get my driver's license, or my vehicle insured and plated, and I am glad for that. But we wasted 3 months on a housing situation that's not going to happen because, see, here's the thing. When I broke those windows, it was because I needed help. I needed the cops to not blow me off. When I went in with Molly Smith didn't have a whole lot to add to the situation. The people who were there and present for the situation that I was trying to turn in, it's because Jordan Anderson did not take the situation seriously. And so I had to try again to turn it in. I spent 3 hours with Cody Selhorst trying to explain it to him, and what did he write down on the paperwork? He wrote a paragraph about that tall, just 2 or 3 lines, saying I indicated I was not trying to kill myself, and at that point I wasn't. I had just tried to kill myself about an hour prior, 30 minutes prior. And he drove across the other side of the lake and watched me try to kill myself. Watched. He saw me attached to the helium tank that I was trying to use to kill myself. Unfortunately, it was balloon helium and it does not work. So I tried to tell him about the threats and harassment and assaults that I'd already endured in Chapel, Nebraska, and he would do nothing about it. He wrote hardly anything down. He wrote that I indicated I just needed someone to talk to. No, I was trying to turn in crimes, and I explained that to him. It's obvious that he was going out of his way to ignore the crimes against me. Sure, he sat in the paperwork, and I don't know where it is exactly, because I had to, when I was over at Mandy Singer's, I had to pack everything up and bring it over here, and now I have to resort through the paperwork. The guy who's gonna go in with me, even if I had it happen over here in the hotel lobby, he's already indicated that he thinks it's useless. With Laura Nelson. Laura Nelson knew a lot about what was going on, but she basically just sat through that whole situation with Sean Holloway and, the parts that I had asked her about in there, rather than speaking up and saying yes. She was nodding and affirming like this. people are afraid of bad cops, especially the poor. You say you shouldn't care what other people think. Yes, you should. People will kill you over what they think. That's why it's important to show both sides. And my side was never allowed in court.
The right avenue. Man, I thought about this ever since we talked last night and today. Like I said, I can give you the name of everybody I know that lives in this county, and they'll tell you that even for felonious matters involving personal injury, they will not do anything. They'll make a report and it'll be filed in drawer number 17 on someone's floor. They're not going to do anything. And I know it's hard to accept, but you've got to face the reality that
I'm facing the reality of the fact that I have hundreds of cases that I can share.
But at the end of the day, you got to do
What's right for me is to stop the abuse. In all of these other situations, people had someone in their corner.
What will it take to stop the abuse? All you need to do is just stop posting on the internet.
No, that is not true. I still have to take the abuse. That's the thing that people didn't want to understand about having to go to Chapel, Nebraska for help. Having to go to Chapel, Nebraska, where people know who I am. They know who I am, and I can't walk down the street without people threatening, harassing, and assaulting me. I can't be homeless in Washington State where I'm going to be abused and have I'm going to be threatened and harassed and intimidated by officers there too. I know, because I'm making something on my YouTube channel. People think that if I just walk away, that means that people are just going to magically leave me alone. No, that is not the case. I can't take care of myself. I am stuck in...
I understand that. And talking to the police right now is not going to resolve the most critical issues that you have. And that is housing. That is food. Those are the two most important things. And you're... Right now, I understand that you believe that this stuff is paramount to that. But
no, what I'm saying is that they continue to pull all of this legal stuff to prevent me from getting housing, to prevent me from getting help, to prevent me from having the reason.
I don't have housing because of this. I don't have... My housing was taken away because Natalie Bollinger was killed. I had to make a choice between staying in Chapel, Nebraska, where people are cruel, where there's not much happiness, where people don't have time, or being at a drug dealer's house in Englewood, Colorado, off of South Zuni. That's it, Hampton and Federal, by the way. When I make that 100-block walk up to Miss Peach's house, it was basically from Hampton and Federal all the way up to almost 120th and Federal. I mean, the bus picked me up and took me part of the way, but only part of the way, because of the time of day that I went, and because of during that time of the day the buses don't run, and when they do run, they start at, I believe, 94th. And that was used to pretend like I was stalking Natalie. I didn't even know she was in Colorado. I knew that the predators who were assaulting me were in Colorado. People keep wanting to focus on the slander, and yes, the slander is important, because I was not allowed to show the slander, because none of these web sleuth groups will look at my side. They will not look at my evidence. When they make these shows that keep on claiming that I was a stalker. They're propagating the abuse. Rob Gavigan's channel, 3 million viewers. That versus me having 56 people who watch a video. Are these people who recognize me and are assholes to me, are they recognize me and being assholes to me over my videos? Because they watched my videos? Or are they doing it because they watched Rob Gavigan's video, where he, instead of looking at both sides and actually doing some actual investigative work, or just repeating the same slander as everyone else? It's the same slander as everyone else. I'm trying to do this online. I need help with that. I'm overwhelmed with having very little time to do it and too much to do. I can't go to the McCook Sheriff's Department by myself.
Resources to take care of myself, and it is all over this situation with Natalie Bollinger. It is all over the slander by Natalie Bollinger, the people of harming me in Chapel, Nebraska, and in Tacoma, Washington. The people up at the Starbucks that I was at on 72nd in Tacoma, Washington. 2 of them were in Colorado when Natalie Bollinger disappeared.
Right. You've got to worry about right now.
And I am worrying about right now. I have court on Friday. I am worrying about that. I have to go to my court date. I have to do something to try to defend myself against these predators, including Leslie Snell. I have to do that. People saying, oh, well, you can just walk. I cannot walk away from this. It's not possible to walk away from this. If I could walk away from it, I would. I drove 1,700 miles away from Virginia to walk away from this. I went to Boulder, Colorado, and I had to deal with threats, harassment, and assaults in Boulder, Colorado. So I moved to Chapel, Nebraska. And in Chapel, Nebraska, I had to continue taking the abuse from people threatening me and harassing me, not just on the internet. When Natalie was killed, I was trying to get a court date so that I could stop the abuse, stop the threats, stop the harassment, and stop the assaults. I mean, they separated me from being able to go to the people who were supposed to be helping me. They prevented me from being able to go to those resources. And that continues to happen. I am a disabled adult. I can't do this alone. And they keep cutting me off from the resources that a disabled person is legally entitled to by using my intelligence. Then they use the rights that an intelligent American citizen is legally entitled to. They keep denying me that by calling me mentally ill, pretending that I'm schizophrenic. Like, no matter what, I have to deal with this. I can't go to a police officer if I am assaulted, and I am assaulted often. I can't go to a police officer about any of these things against me without someone there in person. I can't go to them about assaults without someone there in person. Whether I'm in Chapel, Nebraska, or McCook, Nebraska, or...
I don't post up about every threat. I don't post up about every assault. I don't post up about every time somebody throws a beer bottle at me. I don't post up about that stuff. I try to focus on the stuff that I can prove. The people whose names that I know. Like that guy in the Silverado that kept driving by and screaming stuff out the window at me and throwing beer bottles at me. I encountered that guy more than once. And there's another silver pickup that's very similar. One of them is it's a crew cab that's got a regular truck bed on it. The other one is a crew cab with a farm flatbed on it. Both of them have screamed profanities at me. And I think only one of them threw a beer bottle at me, but he threw it more than once. Now, obviously, it's against the law for the man to be drinking and driving, But who cares in Chapel, Nebraska, right? Obviously, here in McCook, there's not much of a reputation for them doing their jobs here either. I can't go in alone.
Or Boulder, Colorado, or Longmont, Colorado, or Seattle, Washington, or Tacoma, Washington, or Bristol, Virginia. I just can't do it, and I can't continue having to live with people who are drug addicts who promise me they're going to help me, and they're spending all of their time getting messed up on meth and getting messed up on alcohol and trying to get each other.
Fighting against.
There are many people who have fought this and won, but the difference is they had someone in their corner. There are many people who have fought this and won. I have gone without anyone actually in my corner for all this time. I've got weekend warriors that I pay them money to help me, and then once the money is gone, they're no longer willing to help. The thing is, the most important thing is for me to be able to show the evidence that I have without being threatened, harassed, or assaulted. With me not having a steady place to live, I was forced into homelessness because of Natalie's death.
Right, and what I'm saying though is that you've got, somehow you need to, and I'll help you find it, but you've got to find some type of legal representation.
I'm aware of that, but I can't get legal representation. I've already spoken with many lawyers who say, hey, what you need is someone there with you in person. Before we can do anything, because you were called mentally ill and the cops are just going to play on that, you have to have somebody there. You have to go to these doctors and get these pieces of paper signed showing that you are not schizophrenic. And that's the thing, is that I've got that stuff now.
Whether or not, I mean, it's pointless to argue or fight against the schizophrenia thing. For one, it's just another form of mental illness.
And that's the problem with them blanketing the mental illness thing as schizophrenia.
But either or, I mean, we know, you know that you have a level of mental...
And see, there people go again. Mentally ill, mentally ill. Yes, PTSD is considered a mental illness. And as far as the law is concerned, if you're called mentally ill, you might as well be schizophrenic. That's the blanketing laws. They blanket everyone, in court anyway. If you are called mentally ill, everyone is blanketed with the violent schizophrenia mentality. It's just assumed that you are a violent schizophrenic. And they have laws that make it so that they can victimize you as if you were a violent schizophrenic. This is what they prey on. And then people use it as an excuse to allow these things to happen. Obviously these things are immoral. Obviously these things are illegal.
That's like calling a black person the N-word. It really is, because of the blanketing. And that's the thing that people aren't understanding, is that just because somebody is quote-unquote mentally ill does not make it okay to commit crimes against them.
No, it's not.
And because of that quote-unquote mental illness BS, that makes me an at-risk adult. And because I am an at-risk and dependent adult, they have to appoint somebody to assist me with this. And have not. By law, they are supposed to appoint someone to do that. And they haven't. The people that are supposed to be, that they told me in court that I'm supposed to go to, Jen Beebe, she ignored me for 6 months. That ultimately resulted in me not being able to turn in the crimes against me in Chapel, Nebraska while I had housing there. I had a meltdown over the abuse and over my fear.
That's the thing, is that my autism advocate, Meg, she was able to do what it is that Jen Beebe was supposed to do. And Meg did help me to get housing. but she couldn't help me to turn in the crimes against me. When someone commits a crime, I'm just supposed to take it. People say, let it go, let it go. No, you don't get to let it go. You have to constantly look over your shoulder, being afraid that somebody else will assault you. And you have to be afraid that if you try to turn in that assault, that you are the one who is going to be arrested. You are going to be the one who's put in jail. You're going to be the one who's going to go to prison on trumped up fucking charges. People always want to throw that mentally ill thing in your face. Mentally ill, mentally ill. You are mentally ill. You know what? I'm not schizophrenic. See, that's the thing about a label making it okay. If you call somebody mentally ill, it makes it magically okay for these people to do something, for them to assault me, for them to threaten me. It makes it perfectly legal for them to break the law. Because nobody's going to investigate it, nobody's going to look at it. I can't function. I would prefer to show this to the people that it needs to go to, the people who are supposed to investigate it. It's magically wrong to do these things to Zaid Atkinson and to Samuel Leon Lawrence IV and to Kelly Clark and to Michelle Rodriguez. It's wrong to do it to those people, but it's magically okay to do it to me. All these people who said that they loved me, if they really loved me, they would have gone in with me to turn in these predators, instead of pretending that it wasn't happening. Then when they see the evidence, they know I'm telling the truth.
They're going to Dual County Sheriff's Department without somebody there and present who is informed of the situation. And then I have to go through Cirrus House, because Region 1, they got into trouble. They're not allowed to do that anymore. That's how messed up Region 1 was. So now they have Cirrus House who does it. But I keep going to the Cirrus House trying to get the help from them. They're like, we're doing all this stuff so that we can get me into a place, but I can't get into a place because of the situation that happened after I had a severe meltdown over not having anyone in person, and I had to do something desperate to try to get the cops to do their jobs. But what is going to happen if I just walk away, if I don't go to my court date?
Well, I'm not saying walk away from your court date.
The only court dates that I missed are the ones that I was illegally prevented from going to because I was incarcerated. And then they sent out warrants for me, even though it's illegal for them to do so. My public pretender was supposed to contact these other courts and let them know that I was incarcerated, and she didn't make any effort to do that. And as a result, I got arrested for failure to appear in courts that I couldn't appear in because I was incarcerated. These are just one of many tricks that they use to prevent me from defending myself. And I can't continue to have my stuff stolen. I can't continue to have random people assaulting me because they saw some web sleuth through. These things continue to happen no matter what. Now, how do you walk away from it? Where do I go that I can walk away from it? Now, my court that I have to go to on Friday, I have to find a safe place for my evidence. I have nowhere to put my evidence. I don't have a safe place for it. If they tow my vehicle, which they have done on more than one occasion, they get rid of my evidence, refuse to look at it, and then I'm screwed. I don't have a vehicle. They allow people to harm me over and over again until I have a mental breakdown and have to do something desperate. I want to live, but this isn't a life. Moving from place to place, being threatened, harassed, and assaulted. And it's not, if you look at these websites that they keep on making about me, there's, maybe 50 to 60 people who watch my videos overall. But there are millions, literally millions, who watch these web sleuth groups. So these people who are assaulting me, it's not over the videos that I'm making, it's over these web sleuth groups.
In all honesty, there's not that many people that, unfortunately, this is hard to say this, but there's not that many people that really care. They're not, I mean, the
people who hate me care a lot. That's the issue.
We all have people that hate us.
Not like this. That's the thing. This is a very...
See, that is the point right there. People don't care as long as it's not happening to them, as long as it's happening to a homeless person who's an unattractive male. That makes it especially okay, especially if you can call them mentally ill. Oh my God, then it is 100%, 120% okay for you to victimize that person, because nobody cares. But you know who does care? The people who are victimizing them. Nobody cares about these old folks in nursing homes being raped and assaulted by the staff in those nursing homes. The victim cares. That old woman who's being raped in that nursing home does care. That old man who's being assaulted and made fun of in that nursing home, he does care. Those people who are committing the crimes against him absolutely care. They do care. That's the reason that they picked him to do that to. That's the reason that they chose a job at a nursing home. Because they have easy to prey on victims. Does nobody get this? Victimizing the victim for speaking out about the abuse. How do they get away from it? How does an old woman, 80 years old, in a nursing home, being raped 2 to 3 times a week, how does she get away from that? You know what they're going to do if she tries to escape? That's if she is able to escape. They're going to take her right back. One of those cases with a woman in a nursing home that was telling on the nursing staff. They didn't have any video and audio recording devices, and her daughter came in. This is after months and months and several escape attempts from that facility, where they took her to her room and they injected her with drugs. Started giving her a regimen of pills because she must have been hallucinating. She must have been suffering from dementia, because nobody in that hospital would ever dare do something like that. These are all medical professionals. They would never rape an old woman. But she had someone in her corner, and she had the ability to record the evidence. So she put a clandestine recording device in her mother's room, and she was able to bust the orderly who was raping her mother and molesting her mother and abusing her mother. And it was a very big situation, a very big deal, and a very big case. And that nursing home was trying to keep that evidence out of the courtroom by saying it's illegal to record in a hospital. No, it's not. No, it's not. These people got away with abusing me because I am easy to victimize. And then when I have a mental breakdown from the abuse, they use that as an excuse to harm me further. By the way, that nursing home was shut down. That orderly was put in prison. It was a pretty big deal. I think it was late 90s, early 2000s. Imagine if that old woman was recording it herself, and when she tried to turn it in, they refused to look at it. Imagine if her daughter wasn't there to actually care. I don't know if my sister was actually followed by the police. There's a possibility that they did, however. I don't know if somebody from Colorado actually came and threatened my sister. I can't say whether that did or did not happen. I can only say whether or not I believe it, but whether or not I believe it is arbitrary. The fact is, it did need to be investigated. If people are going to tell me that they were threatened and assaulted when they weren't, well, how am I to believe them? How am I to believe that they're going to help me?
Very different situation. This is
Gotta get in.
yes, sir.
I would skip the meeting with the city cops there, because they're not gonna do anything. If you're talking about things that have happened out of state, that's, interstate.
It's also things that have happened in this state. And that's the thing about having to go to an outside agency. Yes, going to an outside agency is an acceptable situation. I can show you multiple cases where people have had to go to another jurisdiction in order to determine the crimes against them. It's one thing to live in a small town and people just don't like you because of reputation. It's another
You know who you need to contact is Amnesty International.
I haven't tried them. I'll call them now.
That's because that's the first place I would call is Amnesty International.
Yes, sir.
But I'll get with you later.
So now it's time to look up Amnesty International. Alright, Lisa Green messaged me. I'm gonna read what she typed to me. Sean, I staffed my concerns with my supervisor, and she has some information she'd like to send you. What's the best email address to use? So I'll check that out, I guess. I'm gonna call her up.